Welcome back to Living United. I'm Sandra Uni. I'm the Executive Director with the Brown County Area United Way. I'm so excited to have Jason Mack with me today. He is here representing CADA, and I love the fact that I was looking over the website and just familiarizing myself, and there were some values that we're going to be talking about later that really resonated with me. So it'll be fun to talk about them. But tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing at CADA, and
So I'm Jason Mack, the Executive Director at CADA. I have been the Executive Director for just over 6 years, and I've been with CADA for just about 8 years. So I've been there for a while. CADA, just for anybody who doesn't know, our mission is to provide safety and support to victims of domestic and sexual violence, and we do that through education, advocacy, and shelter programming. So we do provide services across the whole Region 9 county area.
Yeah, I read that.
So a lot of folks sometimes think of us as CADA House. You know, some folks know that we're over here in Brown County, but they don't realize we actually serve the whole 9 county area with a whole lot of offices and programming.
Yeah, and I hadn't realized that.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my gosh, and you have office here in town, and
Waseca, St. James, St. Peter, way down in Fairmont, in the city of Blue Earth, and in Mankato also, yeah.
Amazing. And so I'm sure you must have a staff that's quite expensive.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. A lot of the work we do is person-to-person work,
Yeah.
right? And so, of course, direct service and paying our folks is our biggest expense.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that I read about was that you do the advocacy and the supervision services.
Yeah.
That really resonated. Tell
Yeah.
us about the supervision services that they have.
Yeah, so that's our Keep Me Safe programming, where we provide supervised visitation and exchanges. So it's typically between a kiddo and a non-custodial parent, just creating kind of a safe space where they can do visits with their kiddos or exchanges between parents. We're currently doing that over here at Brown County Family Services, so we do some programming over there. We also have one in Mankato. But yeah, it's one of our program wings that not a lot of people always know about.
Well, that's great because, we have some fantastic organizations here in New Ulm. We are blessed to have, like Ivy House and Numas House and all of these great programs. But, if there has been whatever the reason for a family to separate, and sometimes just taking care of the visitation, just coming in contact with their ex-spouse, it can be very stressful.
It can be really challenging. Sometimes it can be unsafe for folks, and so we really try to create that neutral space. We don't really engage a whole lot in it. We just make a safe space, allow parent and kiddo to interact and have some quality time together. And just make sure everybody's safe. Yeah.
Now, do you ever go into like the prisons or jails and do any kind of visitation?
So usually not for that particular program. We do some advocacy programming sometimes in prisons and jails. Yeah, so typically a lot of it's in some of our prisons. So like we have some work that we're doing through PRIA, which is in a program in Shakopee, also the women's prison in Waseca. So we'll provide some advocacy services and some things like that to folks who are incarcerated to try to get them access to as much resources as we can.
That's amazing. That's so neat. So I'm a victim. I'm someone who has been sexually abused, and I need help. How do I get it?
Yeah, so there's a lot of ways, which is something that's been new since COVID. So our easiest way is our 1-800 number, which is on our website. It's our helpline. That goes directly to an advocate who picks up the phone. So it's not like an answering machine or a service. So that's a great way to talk to somebody, and they can help get you to the person you need to be to. We also have an email, we have a web chat, and we have a text line. So you can reach out in any one of those ways, whichever most convenient and safe for someone to do that. And we'll have an advocate that reaches back out to you and responds to you.
That's fantastic. Now, role play some more. I'm in need of some services, but I have 3 kids.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah, well, there are some options. We can meet folks remotely. So if you have a phone or Zoom, we can send you a link and we can talk that way. Here in our Brown County office, you can bring your kiddos in. There is a little space for them to hang out with some toys and play and things like that. It can be a little bit chaotic, but it's something that we can deal with. We've done that before and it certainly works.
Awesome. It can't be any more chaotic than the situation that they're already in,
Generally not, yeah.
when you
Yep.
think about it. So how many offices were there? And we've talked about where. But
Yeah,
how
so we have
many were
7
there?
total.
7 offices. That's a lot of people getting some help. I read up to 3,000 people have been benefited.
It kind of depends. Any given year, our average is probably around 2,000 people a year. That can go up or down a little bit depending on a lot of things happening, but
Okay.
yeah.
Did you see the numbers fluctuate either up or down during COVID?
You know, we did. So when COVID first started, a lot of folks were at home, and it was actually a more dangerous time for folks because they weren't out in the community, they weren't going to school, sometimes they weren't going to work. And so the opportunity to reach out was a little bit limited. Sometimes it wasn't safe. And so we actually saw our numbers dip down a little bit right at the beginning of everything that was happening with COVID. But then as it became quote unquote a little more normal, if we can call it that,
Yeah.
we saw those numbers come back up. And since then we've really seen them just kind of level off and go back to what they used to be, with one difference, which is really important, is folks' needs are a lot more complex now. It seems like challenges and issues have really kind of stacked on top of each other. And so the amount of time that we are spending with folks needing support is oftentimes a lot greater than it used to be before the pandemic happened.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing though. But you're right. And you can see just the way our society is happening right now. The needs and services are layered.
Yeah.
It's kind of like an onion, and you pull it away
Yep.
so that you can get down to the real root of the problem. Okay, so values. I'm a values girl, probably because the United Way is working on their strategic plan right now. So we're re-looking at our mission and values. And there are 5 values that you had listed. And the first one was anti-oppression.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Yeah. So one of the things with that particular value that we recognize at CADA is that all forms of violence and oppression are interconnected. So we know that when we address things like sexual assault or relationship violence, that's connected with all other types of violence. And so they don't just exist in a silo by themselves. And one of the ways that shows up in our programming is really trying to meet folks where they're at, keeping our services survivor-centered, which is another one of our values, right? But really recognizing that everybody has a unique set of identities, everybody has a unique set of circumstances that they're working with, and we really want to see them for who they are and all that they are, and try to meet their needs as best as we can within our abilities.
So no 2 clients obviously are going to be the same.
Right.
Everyone has their own story to tell.
Yeah.
All right, so that was the first one. Next one, community.
Yeah. We can't do this work without community. One of the things we oftentimes say is that because relationship violence and sexual assault are so common, it's unfortunate but true that we all know somebody who's been impacted. And because of that, it's so prevalent, it's a community problem that requires a community solution, right? It's not just an individual or somebody's personal problem. They're so common that these really are social problems that we all have a stake in. And so in one way it's honoring that, but it's also recognizing that we all have to be a part of that community of support for a survivor, right? CADA can do a lot, we can't do it all, right?
Right.
So the whole community really is part of that response.
And when you say support, it doesn't always mean dollars.
No, not always.
It's just being supportive.
Yep, just knowing how to talk to somebody, believe their story,
Yeah.
tell them you care, thank them for sharing.
I love that. Believe their story.
Yep.
That is very good, very insightful.
Yeah.
That's very true. You said it was survivor-centered. That's neat. Because like you said, nothing is the same. Everyone is a little bit different. But as they're survivor-centered, you said something earlier about one-on-one meetings.
Yep.
Talk to me.
Yeah, so some of our advocacy programming typically happens in one-on-one meetings, whether it's over the phone, in person, whatever it may be. And so that can look like a lot of things. It might just be safety planning, talking about what is your specific situation and how can we help you stay safe in that situation. We know sometimes it's not realistic for folks to leave a relationship. Sometimes they don't want to. And that's totally okay. We don't tell folks what they need to do. Part of being survivor-centered is really understanding what it is they're wanting for support and then helping them with that.
Yeah, meeting them where they're at.
Absolutely.
Very important.
And not telling them what to do.
Right.
Yep.
You don't have all the answers.
No.
Got it. How about stewardship?
Yeah, that's a fun one. So stewardship means a lot of things to us at CADA. Part of it is being good stewards of the resources that we are entrusted with, whether that's our grants, whether that's individual donors, whatever it may be. We want to be good stewards of that money and those resources and put them to good use, which is, of course, our mission. But beyond that, being a steward for us is also about being a steward of the trust and the relationship that is put in us as a service agency for survivors. We know that victims and survivors are, when they come to us, are oftentimes in one of the scariest and most challenging parts of their lives. And we really want to hold that trust very delicately and be good stewards of that relationship so that they can have the experience that they need to take the next steps that they want to take, whatever that may be for them.
Just to be safe.
Yep.
All right. Last one, and this one I loved, dignity. Yeah.
Dignity. I mean, it's really part of how we see people. So part of how we define dignity at CADA is recognizing that no matter how we're interacting with people, so like you and I, right? You're the executive director of United Way, or if we're working with a victim survivor, recognizing that whatever the reason for our current relationship, who you are as a human being is way bigger than that at all times. And so really just recognizing the dignity, the inherent dignity in everybody that we work with and partner with, whatever capacity that may look like, and approaching the relationship from that place.
Excellent. Now, do you guys have a DEI statement yet?
We don't have a particular DEI statement.
We're working on ours too.
Yeah, but we really try to infuse it into everything we do. So like our value of anti-oppression, survivor-centered, dignity, and how we define those internally as well as externally is part of how we try to have a living, embodied DEI approach.
Wow. So a couple more questions, because there was just so much to talk about with you. What if I have a family member who I see is in a situation? What can I do to help them, do you think? I mean, can you, what advice can you give? Because I'm trying to help them, but I don't know how. I don't even know how to bring it up to them. Yeah,
it's a hard situation, and it happens to a lot of folks. One thing that can be really helpful is just to let people know you support them. And I think when you do that, it's really important to take a very non-judgmental approach. It's so easy for us to look at others and their situations and want to say, oh, you should do this, or you should do that, or you got to get out of here. And when we do that, it can feel really isolating to folks. So if we can just say, I support you, I believe you.
Yeah, I believe your story.
Yeah, I believe you. How can I help? What would be helpful from you? To you, for me, right?
Yeah.
From me. What does that look like? And you can always call CADA too.
I was going to say, do you ever get calls from family members?
Absolutely. Yep. Our helpline gets all sorts of folks calling that line. We try to point them to resources, give them some tips, and also provide them with some information. Sometimes it's just helpful to say, I believe you, I support you. Here's contact information for CADA if you ever want to reach out.
Okay. Yep. And then last question, and it just left my mind. So we're going to have to end it there. I can't believe that. How many of that's ever happened to you? It just kind of pops out of your head. Jason, this has been a fantastic talk. I was not aware that it was so expansive across the 9-county area. And I remembered now. I want to volunteer.
You want to volunteer? How do you do it?
How do I do it? How do I be a volunteer?
Yeah, a great way is checking out our website or our Facebook page. You can give us a call as well. We do have various types of volunteer opportunities. One thing we're always looking for is board members. So if folks have a little bit of extra time on their hand, they feel like they have a skill set to bring to the table, we'd be happy to have an interview with them and see if they might be a good fit for our board. And other than that, we always have sometimes different types of volunteer opportunities that we try to post. We do have a volunteer coordinator that helps guide that process.
So do you guys
So-
sponsor events for funding purposes?
Yeah, so we do one annual event at this point in time, which is our Galentine's Day fundraiser. It happens right around the middle of February, give or take a week. It's obviously not right on Valentine's Day, but it's usually real close to that. So that's one way that you can support. Of course, there's a lot of other ways. Our website, which is cadamn.org, is always a great way to just see what we're up to, see what's going on, how do you get involved, that sort of thing.
What if I don't have the time, but I still want to provide help?
Yeah, we'll never turn down donations, right? One of the things that a lot of folks don't know, because of the type of program that we are, it oftentimes appears as if we are county funded or city funded, but we're a nonprofit, right? And so we do have a couple of really important grants that we rely on. And those aren't always as stable as we would like them to be. And so community support is another really big way that we're able to stay present in the communities the way that we would want to be.
Okay, my gift of showing my love is to give something. And I read on the website that there's donations as far as products, like socks and, things like that.
So we try to keep an updated list of what our physical needs are because it changes from time to time. And as a shelter program, we don't always have a lot of space to store a lot of stuff. So we try to keep our needs list pretty updated on our website. And if we have specific things, we'll oftentimes put a Facebook post out that just says, right now we have a family who's needing this particular set of things. If you're able to help us out, reach out and we can get you connected.
Isn't Facebook great for that?
It's really helpful.
It is. I mean, technology these days, so helpful.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think I've
Great.
used a lot of your time this afternoon. I want to thank you again.
Yeah.
This has been fantastic. I love the opportunity to speak with our partner agencies and get to know people.
Yeah.
One-on-one. We've been doing a lot of meetings, and they've all been Zoom for you, right? You heave off some pops in on Zoom. So this is the first time I got to meet him in person. So it was fun to actually see that, there is a person.
Yeah.
Jason's real.
Yeah. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And thank you for viewing Living United, and we appreciate it. And of course, if you have any opportunities to volunteer, donate your time or finances, give us a call. We are there for the Brown County area for sure. Thanks.